when people apply all of the methods that I used and talk about it and create book clubs and everything else, they will become better in their working relationship, in their loving relationships, in their family relationships, and therefore be a better, happier, joyful human, you know? And in times like today, I think that's a good thing.
Welcome to Making Change with Your Money, a podcast that highlights the stories and strategies of women who experienced a big life transition and overcame challenges as they redefined financial success for themselves. Now here's your host, certified financial planner, Laura Rotter.
I am so excited to have as my guest today, Dorice Horenstein, the Oi to Joy Champion Catalyst. Dorice is an international resilience speaker and positive intelligence expert who turns theory into action. And Dorice is my son's mother-in-law. She's a best-selling author and top 25 global thought leader in coaching. Dorice empowers individuals and teams to build resilience, clarity, and joy. With 30 years in education and leadership, she has trained organizations like Bonneville Power Administration, Crew, and Standard Insurance. Her dynamic talks leave lasting impact, and she has an upcoming book which will offer a 6-step roadmap to thriving in life and work. So welcome, Dorice, to the Making Change with Your Money podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. And I must say, you are the best mother-in-law that my son could have. So I think he is been this, he just loves your family, loves the Rotter family. So I have to start by saying that, because that's a dream of every mother, right? That her son is in the beautiful, with another family that is so beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you, Dorice. And we love your son, Matan. He's such a wonderful addition to our family. So unbelievably, Dorice was on this podcast before. I'm saying unbelievably because it was July 2023. It doesn't feel like that long ago. So I'm sure a lot has changed since then, Dorice. So can you please fill me and our listeners in with what you've been doing?
Wow. On one hand, you're right. It seems like a long time ago. On the other hand, it feels like it was just yesterday. And the just yesterday piece was like, I am still, of course, a trainer and a presenter and a coach and a speaker. And that is growing, and I'm enjoying the benefits and the rewards that I get spiritually as well as financially. And I think that is so wonderful, is to know that you're serving other people and that you're helping them overcome challenges and look at opportunities of growth and find joy in their own life. And in that, I feel that I work my magic and live up to my own purpose. So that's, to me, is like a gift. And I still say every morning I said, did I tell you? I always tell my husband, did I tell you I love my life? That is my line that I say still. So this has not changed. What did change a little bit is that I have another book now that is in its absolute last phases to become published. In It will be pre-launched in May 22nd, and it will be in Amazon and in bookshelves all over the country on October 14th. So I have that date, and that really excites me. And the reason I wrote a second book, because you know what? When I wrote the first book, and
Yeah,
after it
please
was done,
remind us, sorry to interrupt, what the first book was about. I'm sure we talked about it last time, but not everyone has heard that episode.
of course, of course. So my first book was Moments of the Heart. For relationships, everyone should have to live wholeheartedly. And the reason I wrote that book was because my sister was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer at the age of 38. And she was living in Israel. I am in the United States. What can I do? It started as videos that I posted every Saturday night on 2015? And then that became really the impetus of my book. And so that came out in 2020. And you know what happened in 2020? It was insane, insane year, but also incredible at the same time, like, oh my God, how all of these things are coming together. And and that was really the reason that I decided to leave my job in the education field. So I was in the education for 30 years, 16 years I was leading a school, and I decided, okay, in order for this book to really serve and be there, I needed to promote it, I needed to talk about it, I needed to go places. And I couldn't do it while working full time in the education sector. So I left that and I became an entrepreneur. And that was a scary, and we talked about it in the last, that was kind of a scary stepping into the unknown, jumping into the ocean, not knowing anything of how to go about being an entrepreneur. And that was the first podcast that we recorded together. And
Yeah.
then since then, I'm still swimming in the ocean. I have a little bit. I have for some floaters with me.
I'm
I'm not
imagining you, right, with the floaters on your arm.
exactly. And the floaters are in the shape of humans that are just there and help me bring my vision into reality. I have two people that work for me now, and so it's growing and it's beautiful. And during the pandemic year, because we were home and as a speaker, there was no speaking. So I had a lot of time to think and become a positive intelligence coach. That year was the year I became a positive intelligence coach. And I am number 45 in the world, certified coach with Shirzat Shamin. And that brought my way opportunities to give talks such as Train Your Brain, um, the three mindset shifts to creating the champion leader, and things like that. And and that brought me to several companies like Netflix and HP, where Positive Intelligence reached out to me to give those presentation to these companies, which was lovely. And at the same time, as all of this is happening, and I was observing my friends and my colleagues, and sometimes even myself, having a hard time making the right choice. And in different places, like in my emotions, how do I choose my emotions better? How do I choose how to go through this life? And I always love thought leadership. I always, in my previous job in the education, I write essays and talk about sermons with different issues. So then I thought to myself, let me start writing about the choices that we make. And some choices are simple choices, what I call, what to eat for dinner,
Exactly.
where should I go on a vacation, Eh, but then there's other choices. Should I have children? Should I not? Should I get married? Should I not? Should I come out of the closet? Should I not? Should I leave my home country? Should I not? I mean, all of these things that were starting to percolate in my own brain. Should I forgive others? Or should I not? Should I hold on to that? I'm not forgiving people. Should I forgive myself? So all of these things that were happening to me and to people around me in 2021. And so I started putting them down on a paper in 2022. So it's been a long time for this book to come to life. It started as, just reflection for me in my journal, and then it was a little blog. And then I thought, okay, I need to put this all together. And maybe through my experience, and then I looked back and how I chose to depart from my previous position and in general, the education field for 30 years. What are the methods that I chose to do something like that? And at the same time, not to burn bridges behind me, to leave things in a positive way, to be proud of how I showed up and and to love the way that I went through life. So that's how this idea of choosing came to my awareness. And so
Let me stop you for a moment because
yeah.
you said you looked back at your methods for how you made the choice to
Mhm,
leave a secure career that you had done for
mhm,
many years and reinvent yourself in many ways.
mhm.
So can you sort of define for us what do you mean by methods? Right?
Sometimes that's a beautiful question. Sometimes I find that we all are first react without pausing to think what will serve not only us, but to the people around us. Either the people that we live with, the people that we work with, what will serve us the best. And I believe, just like Brene Brown is saying, I believe that most humanity are feeling machines that sometimes think, and not the opposite.
Love that.
It's not the opposite. So then I thought, okay, our feelings, and I talk about it all the time in my presentation for mental fitness, how we are driven by our feelings, and our feelings make our thoughts a particular way. And then, it's in a loop, thinking of feeling, thinking, feeling, and then it's like shoots out a behavior of some sort, right?
Yes, and we
And
justify our emotionally based decisions.
exactly, exactly. So I said, no, we need to have a better system so that we could that I can impart on people and saying, if you go through this method, this, I call it playbook of making a choice, any choice. And maybe you and I can play that game, a particular choice in our mind, and what will be the right path. So that's, by the way, the tagline on my book is Six-Step Playbook to Becoming Your Best Self. And by doing that, you choose how to be your own champion in your own life. And that's what driven me. And so I thought hard about, okay, what will be a method? How can I describe that method? And on a beautiful afternoon, it came to me. It came to me because I was thinking about the word choose, and I kept on thinking and contemplating and doing PQ, which is positive intelligence quotient, on a word to just center myself. I thought, okay, choose. That's the word, choose. Because, and then I thought, because I'm Israeli and because I speak Hebrew, I thought of it also in a Hebrew way, right? The Hebrew word for choose is bachar, you know, and there's two other words in Hebrew that uses the same letters in a different order, and that's a friend, chaver, and then cherev, which means a sword. So I was thinking, okay, how are these three words connected? And I thought, okay, the sword piece is like a strife. Is the idea is like, you use a sword to divide. It's a divisive thing. It's not like a peaceful thing. So then I thought, okay, I am going to then think of every choice that we make, and we are the product of our choices. If we wanted to believe it or not, I think it is absolutely the truth. It doesn't mean that what happened to us is not, okay, is okay if something bad happened to us, but our choosing is how we choose to respond to whatever happens to us. So yeah, sometimes bad things happen. I mean, I we've seen it. We've seen it. I mean, we came out of the pandemic. I've seen it. So then I thought, okay, every choice that we make, every choosing that we do, either leads us to connectivity, and that's the friendship piece, right? Lechaber means to connect, right? Or it leads us to cherev, to strive, to something that doesn't align with us. Every single choice, and it's really interesting. And the good part about it is that even if we choose sometimes something that we regret, it's not too late. Because we have the freedom to choose again and to re-choose again in our lives. It doesn't mean that once you chose something, that's it, you're stuck forever, except those choices that I call eternal. There are choices that are eternal choices, that once you make a choice, that's the choice you made. So bringing children to the world.
Yes.
I mean, like, you can't say, oh, sorry, been there, done that. I'm
Do
going
over.
exactly, exactly. And some choices are internal, not eternal, but internal. They have to do with you and yourself and how you choose to show up in the world, right? And so all of these thoughts have been in my mind, and I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about how do, and one more caveat. Sometimes choices that I will make that are good for my best self may not be the same choices that you or my son or my husband or my friend will make. And that is also okay, right? Because the whole idea is making the right choice for you to become your best self. So then I thought I took the word choose because it meant so much to me on the basis of the Hebrew and understanding the current underneath is I took the word choose and I made it an acronym. And CHOOSE is the
Mhm.
acronym of the Six-Step Playbook. So should I go through the steps? Would you like the first step?
Sure.
The first one is clarity. The C stands for clarity. Sometimes we are not even clear about the choice that is in front of us. Sometimes the choice in front of us is not even our choice to make.
Yeah.
And we think like we need to jump into something else. So it's that clarity about the choice and clarity about the information around it. So understanding where you are, what sabotages you. So in that section of the book, which we call steps, I describe because it's a mixture of positive intelligence and me, this
Yes,
book.
I hear that. Yeah.
So it will be, what are the different saboteurs that one can go in, okay? And how is it important for us to be understanding our strength and then also understanding how when we use and abuse our strength, it can become actually our weakness.
I
And
do want to ask one question of what comes up for
yeah,
me when you say this, Doris, because I guess I'm relating to my own way of making choices that I feel like I can be sabotaged if I feel like this is, I'm going to use your language, an eternal choice. As an example, we're way past this, but watching young people make decisions about university, or frankly, my synagogue is interviewing and will be hiring a new rabbi. We had
mhm.
and if there's this feeling that like this choice is black and white, and if it doesn't work out, I'm screwed. That makes it so much more serious that I know for me, I will say, like, to someone, choose a college. If you don't like it after your freshman year, you transfer. Make a job offer to a rabbi. It doesn't work for the congregation. Yes, we'll be signing a contract, but it won't be for 30 years. You move on.
Exactly.
So,
And this is not you
right,
no, you just nailed it. This is not choosing a rabbi or choosing a university is not an eternal choice.
right.
There are very few eternal choices that we make in life. And that's why I brought children. Children is
Yes,
eternal choice.
yes.
Even so those are important to know that once you're in, you're in. Once my daughter decided to have two children, she's in. Two children it goes. She can't we can't take back. There is no going back, right? And so that is in one category, but there's very few things in life that are eternal.
Yes.
Most of the things in life are internal, right? And some of these pieces, some of it is not is external, like the food that we're eating. What should we go for dinner? Small things. This book of mine is dealing with the internal choices, most of it. Why? Because by doing the internal work, you become the champion of your own best self. And I do believe with all my heart that each and every person in this world, in this universe, can be a champion in their own life and become their best self. And in the very end of my book, I actually talk about that light that everybody can bring. And that light is the light of love and the light of goodness and the light of how you celebrate the world and continue working with the world to make the world a better place for everybody to live in. And coming not from a place of hatred, but from a place of love. And that is the very last page in my book. And so I do believe that we can all have it if you come with that mindset. with that mindset. So yeah, this part is the clarity part is really important. It's like, yeah, I think that there's a lot of choices to be made with choosing a rabbi. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
And it could change. And some rabbis are there for 30 years, and some rabbis are there for 5 years
Yes.
because it's not a good match for anybody. And being an education director for 16 years, I do know that because in my time, there's 4 different rabbis that came in and out in
Oh my
16
God.
years. So trust me, I
It's
get
not
you.
an eternal choice.
It's not an eternal choice. No, no. And it's not for the congregants and not even for the rabbi.
Exactly.
See, it's a none of us think that this is eternal, you know. So
Though my last rabbi was 35 years, but
and
it's not always the case.
it's not always the case. And in our congregation, our senior rabbi is leaving, and I think he's been there for just about around 15 years, and he's leaving this July 1st. So
Oh, so
yeah,
you'll be in the same
you go.
boat we are.
Actually, no, they had in our synagogue, they had the educational rabbi becoming the senior rabbi
Ah,
effective July 1st. And then I'm sure they're going to hire somebody else to be the education rabbi, so the life that I kind of, step away from and just doing this and just watching and looking and supporting when I can.
supporting. Exactly. So
Yeah.
what does the H stand
The
for?
H stands for
Classic.
honoring your feelings. Honoring your feelings. I think sometimes we try to shove it down, the feeling, like we don't like the choice, but we bottle it in and we feel this knot in our stomach. And we know that something is just not right. And we ignore it, or we don't think that this is important. And the more we are not in touch with our feelings, the louder that sound in our head become. And so that to me is incredibly important, to honor the feelings that we have. It doesn't mean that we stay there. See, it's like whatever feelings you have, how can you then move from it? How can you look at it like you feel it, and then yet you step back up and say, what am I looking here? What is beneath the feelings? What is beneath those feelings? And I think that's really important when we make a decision. So we don't make it fully because of our feelings. And it's like, how do you make it? Just like,
Yeah. How do you balance
so
the
then
two?
yeah. So then you go to the third step. But okay, go ahead.
Well, I was also going to say, how do we I know you, we are similar emotionally. I do meditate, and so I can hear and sense my internal voice, but
Mhm.
not everyone can. So how do you even know what's your internal voice and what's the voice of your mother or your
Mhm.
culture or something? And then
Yes.
secondarily, how do you then work with it?
You were in that section. There is a part where I put that to learn to get to the authenticity of you. Is like that is the section when and I give exercise. The nice part about this book that didn't happen with my first book, there is a companion resource that I created, which is like 70 other pages where people actually write their feelings. There's questions, and then there is places to fill. It's a fillable either online, or you can print it and make it your own workbook. And the QR code is in the book itself. So it's complimentary. It's just a resource that I think nice to have. And it's about number one, being empathetic to your feelings. In other words, don't put it aside. And it doesn't mean somebody asked me, says, Doris, does that mean that we can become narcissist? If we do that, like always like feeling, we love ourselves. Like, no, 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 no. There's a big, huge difference between having immense empathy and love for yourself than being narcissistic. Okay. So know that level. And also then dig deep down about being your original self, not the one that has all the shells or the peels or the layers of the onions on you because of life that made you this way, but in your very core, in your very core, where is it? And it is a hard job. It is, it is very, and it's a lifelong job.
Exactly. I was going to say
It-
it takes a lot of practice. And what I'm also hearing
yes,
is this idea, it's almost like the internal family systems of all these
mhm,
different voices inside you. And for me,
yes,
it's also inner child work, which is you're not letting the inner child drive the car, right? Like it's not like here's the steering wheel, but we're not banishing the inner child either. We're saying, hi, sweetheart, I hear you. You're scared. This is a scary thing. I get it. I'll
oh
take
my
care of
God.
you. Don't worry.
Yes. And imagine when, if all of us adults will give that love to ourselves, what can happen to this world and also how to the children around us. I think that, it also shows vulnerability to our own family, that we're not that perfect and we are learning. And sometimes, I have to work on it myself for me with my relationship with the people that I love, children, husband, friends, whatever is because I'm not perfect, far from it, but I still do love myself, even if I'm not perfect. I do. And if I don't, I play some music, I dance around, and I'm back into loving myself.
So, Doris, you were saying how, so then how do you work with those voices?
That tells you that you're not good enough or
I guess you were saying for you have exercises for helping us really distinguish
yeah.
giving us the clarity. And
Mhm.
then
And then
ignoring that clarity, then how do
and
you
then so
do it?
let's move to the next step. It's
Okay.
the first O is openness to options. And I think that's really important because sometimes we put ourselves in a box, not even understanding that, yeah, I mean, we're right now given this one choice, but it could be that we can modify one choice and make it something else. So being curious is huge part in making choices. It's not, some things are black and white, but many things are not. And so how do you then see what are all the different shades that really are happening here? Should I go visit my daughter during the pandemic? Should I not? I mean, okay, if I go, what are the times that I could go? How could I make it happen? Can I go before she had the baby? I mean, all of these questions that I ask myself. So it will be a choice that I could be happy to live with, right? Happy to live with, not choice that I'm like, yeah, I have no choice. It was given to me by whatever, and I have to do it. Be behind it. And then the second O is oneness. Oneness with yourself. I call it the shlemut to me, and it's the center of this word, choose. And I think it is so important to feel wholesome. And in Hebrew, shlemut means wholesome and being feeling as a whole. So you're not split in your heart. Um, I'll give you even the name of the book that, right? This book does not yet, at this moment in time, we're tweaking. How will the name of the book be? That's a big, huge choice to make. Names of the books are super important. And the publisher suggested some things just earlier this week. And at first I said yes. And then when I hung up the phone and I wrote it down, something in my system didn't feel right about it. So I have another meeting with them, and meantime, I'm doing my work. It's like, okay, what do I feel about this? Why is this not right? How? And it could be a tweak between choosing and choose. That's it. But it's important. So being aware and conscientious of where you are with your body is like, I feel split on that. It's not 100% right, and most of the time, if we listen to that voice, we are striving more to being in completion with our own self rather than split. So I think that part of being oneness is, I think it's really important. And it's so interesting that it's just literally in the middle of that name. And then S, S is strategize your success. That to me means how are we going to plan it out. So the example that I give in the book where I take them through this is me leaving my job after 16 years and what was going on in every step in there. And by the way, sometimes those steps are done simultaneously. It's not like you have to go from one to the next. Sometimes it's all like happening and you put them in the right buckets. It's like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. This is this. But the strategizing is, for me, was who else needs to know about this? Who else needs to know about what's going on in my head? Who do I need on that train with me that I'm leaving? And in our last podcast, we talked about that I needed Bob to be on board. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences to
Yeah.
either way. So it's like, what needs to happen? And who else needs to be on that train with me? And is anybody in the synagogue needed to be there so I can get the severance that I was planning to get? Who needs to be in the know? How do I strategize this thing so it will be successful? And in that section is you also realize that you need other people. That in our lives as human beings, we need people around us. Yes, sometimes we can be more not as how do you say when oh my God, the words escape my mind.
Okay.
More reflective and not how do you say outgoing. I forgot the name. You're going to
You're
edit
saying
this one.
extroverted or
Yes, thank you. Extrovert. The word escaped me. Yes, yes, yeah. So I'm even introverted. That's the line. Okay, so hopefully
Okay.
your editor will cut this piece
Yes,
out.
we will edit this out. Yeah.
Even introverts need people around them,
Yes.
right? It's not only extroverts need people around them like me, right? We all need people around us. And I think that part is strategizing. How am I going to make this choice? And how is it going to affect other people around me? Because my choice definitely affected our family. You know, the older two are out of the house, but Yaniv was here, Bob was here. How are we going to be in this together? And
Right.
then the last piece, which is the E, is for enactment. It's getting the choice done, taking the first step, understanding maybe there's a timeline that we need to do. At first, I wanted to call it, activate, like to take action. But I needed an E. I was thinking an E, and then there was and then there was execution, and I'm like, I'm not using the word
No.
execution here. So then the word enactment came. So that's the book,
So
and
I've got a question for you about the interplay of sort of the more internal spiritual work and then the two last letters, the strategize and enactment. I'm going to share that I try to come up with a mantra for each year. And this year, my mantra is opening to receive ease and synchronicities. And
Ooh.
so it is very much backing away from what comes naturally to me, which is, I guess, strategize and enact, right? Like, here's my to-do list, and here's where it's scheduled in my calendar, and this is who I'm reaching out to, and this is what I'm doing next. And that has certainly served me in my life. And I think there's a different way. So I'm curious your thoughts
Mhm.
about the interplay of the two.
Yeah. Well, you can use yours as a strategy. This
Oh,
could
that's
be your strategy, you know, and you're going to go in with the ease and flow into this. And I also know that where we focus our attention, the influence and what we want to achieve becomes a reality. And in order for that to become a reality, we need to take actions. I've not seen one person sitting on the sofa reading a book and it doesn't matter what book, it could be an amazing book, and their own life changed drastically just by sitting on the sofa and reading a book. I've seen them doing things to make that happen. And I am a doer, and I come from that place. I come from that place. If you want to see something happen, create that. And so, what does that mean to create that? It doesn't mean that you by yourself single-handedly will go and charge forward. And no, you can have group with you, but bring that to reality. And to me, bring it something to reality means that you need to be intentional about how you're going to bring that to reality. So you can use your mindset approach and your word of the year, which is more than one word, by the way.
Yes, it's my mantra of the
It's
year.
your mantra. That's right. It's your mantra. It's becoming that could be your strategy. And you will be surprised when that's your strategy, you actually have steps to make that happen for you.
I think actually you're reminding me, Doris, that that is the case. Not only, though I've mostly ignored it today, but I do have a little buzz going off on my wrist every 2 hours, reminding me to sit and take a breath for a minute. And I say yes to events and activities where I will meet new people.
See?
So
So that's a strategy.
that is a strategy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you follow up on it. You subscribe to events, you go to events, but then at the event, what do? You don't probably sit without talking to anybody. You're
No.
talking and you're schmoozing with people. Why? Why? Ask yourself why.
Well, I guess it does sort of tie to what you said under strategize, which is I just think I can help people, whether inviting them to be guests on my podcast or answering their questions about finances or just creating a space for listening. Because as an
Mhm.
introvert, I'm a good listener.
Yes, you
And I
are.
know that that's a gift to people.
Yeah.
So,
That's actually your superpower, Laura. That is because I do think that, and you are much better than me. Listening is often more important than speaking,
yes.
and so I think you're doing a fantastic job at that. And as you're listening, you're processing. You're processing what I'm saying, and you make me think by having thoughtful questions about what will I respond. So I love that.
So, what do you want our listeners to know about when your book will be out, about how they can support you in this journey so you can support them?
Thank you. Thank you. So, first of all, I want to gift your listeners, anybody that listen here, I created these beautiful cards that you can that can you hear me? I just
I
moved
can
my
hear you. Yeah,
you
I
can
can.
hear. So anyway, these are the different steps that a person goes through. And oh, did I put it upside down?
Upside
Yep.
down. Oh, I love it, though.
So anyway, you are welcome to these cards. That is absolutely my gift to everybody who's listening. That's number one. Number two, if you would like to be an ambassador, I will put in a link. And the ambassador means that if you pre-order my book, you will get a free ebook from me when I have the codes and when you are submitting it. I'm working right now with the publishing company to provide me those things. And you will be invited to an exclusive webinar together with me once the book is out and you have the book, and it will be hundreds of people together with us celebrating and doing activities with the book. That's number two. And number three, when it's out, I would love for you to put it on your social media and tag me. So that's the ambassador. So you get the free ebook, the free card game that I have right here, and you are in my orbit of influence, and we can meet each other. And how cool is that?
Thank you. And what's the time frame? I think you mentioned it earlier, but just for
Yeah. The
now.
book in Amazon and on brick and mortar will be available October 14th.
Oh,
And
October 14th.
yes, but my pre-launch is May 22nd. And in April and May, I will need the ambassadors to be on board, because that will be like amazing, amazing period of time. And then I'll do a physical pre-launch at where I live in Portland, Oregon, and it will be streamed on Facebook to everybody. And so it'll be really fun. So yeah, so the more people know, the more people celebrate, the better people make choices, hey, a win-win.
I love that. So, Doris, before we get off, you are a woman of great passion and also vision. Do you have a sense of, what's coming up for you in the next 2 years?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Enough
First of all,
time.
I know. First of all, I always start with a prayer, right? May the next 2 years I will be healthy in body and spirit, and and be surrounded with the people that I love, and that my family and my friends and my extended family. That's my first thing, that I like, the moment of gratitude here, because we have to do that first.
Amen,
And
amen, amen.
yes, in 2 years we can do another recording. It seems like we're keeping on track. And but for my business, I am I'm anticipating that this book will be purchased by event planners and company uh, uh, um, summits and conferences that want to give this to every single one of their employees, because I do believe that it will be, when people apply all of the methods that I used and talk about it and create book clubs and everything else, they will become better in their working relationship, in their loving relationships, in their family relationships, and therefore be a better, happier, joyful human, you know? And in times like today, I think that's a good thing.
God, God.
Right? So
Yeah,
can we, yeah. And I think I'm in this place where I'm bridging a lot of people. When I talk to a lot of people, some people I agree politically with, some people I don't, but we all agree that we can become a champion in our own lives. And wow, that's a win to me. That's a win to me.
I love it. Beautiful, beautiful way to end our conversation, Doris. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Making Change with Your Money. Certified financial planner Laura Rotter specializes in helping people just like you organize, clarify, and invest their money in order to support a life of purpose and meaning. Go to www.trueabundanceadvisors.com/workbook for a free resource to help you on your journey. Disclaimer, please remember that the information shared by this podcast does not constitute accounting, legal, tax, investment, or financial advice. It's for information purposes only. You should seek appropriate professional advice for your specific information.